Welcome back to The Takeout. The couple wrongly accused by police of a kidnapping hoax was recently documented in Netflix's American Nightmare. Well, they're now working with law enforcement. CBS News California investigative correspondent Julie Watts spoke to Denise and Aaron Quinn, who were recently honored as California's Witnesses of the Year.
You're about to hear never-before-released cold case confessions recorded during recent in-custody interviews with Matthew Mueller, the serial predator who kidnapped Denise Huskins and has now confessed to decades of similar home invasions and sexual assaults.
We're back in Tahoe, not far from where this all started. What's it like for you to be in this room this close to where you were held hostage?
Yeah.
At a law enforcement conference in South Lake Tahoe.
It's bittersweet to be able to be here and reclaim this as something positive.
The woman once discredited by authorities is now helping to train them, alongside her now husband, Aaron Quinn, and the two officers who finally believed them.
She's dead. Understand that I've accepted that.
Together, this team helped solve at least 4 cold case crimes this year. Crimes that may have been solved a decade ago if only someone had listened sooner.
They did not come into your house and kidnap her and take her for ransom.
March 2015, intruders did blindfold and drug the couple in their Vallejo home, then kidnapped, raped, and held Denise for ransom while police falsely accused Aaron of killing her.
Okay, how do I make it so you look like a monster?
Instead of searching for the kidnapper,
it is Mr. Quinn and Ms. Huskins that owes this community an apology.
When the kidnapper released Denise, police accused the couple of orchestrating a hoax.
The members of our community are safe.
They weren't.
The real tragedy is now we know there's 2 other families that Mueller terrorized and attacked.
2 months later, their attackers struck again in nearby Dublin, California, leading police to Matthew Mueller's Tahoe cabin, where he held Denise captive. 1 month later, Denise and Aaron were finally vindicated. Mueller was sentenced to 40 years in federal prison, but the nightmare wasn't over.
At one point, he laid down on the bed next to me and then just started telling me how he...
2015 interrogation recordings revealed Denise warned investigators a decade ago that Mueller told her there were other victims.
Like you said, they've probably done this before.
But for 10 years, they couldn't get anyone to investigate. Then, last year's most-watched Netflix docuseries chronicled Denise and Aaron's American Nightmare. And small-town Seaside Police Chief Nick Borges reached out to them on Instagram.
Denise was first to respond back to me.
What began as a conversation soon became a mission to bring closure to Mueller's other victims.
But I remember her saying, but we're not law enforcement, what do we do? And that's kind of where I said, well, let me try to help.
So, working with Denise, Aaron, and Misty, he wrote directly to Matthew Mueller. For the first time, we're showing you Mueller's cold case confessions from behind bars, limited excerpts to protect victim privacy and ongoing investigations. First, Mueller confessed in a letter to 2 home invasion attempted rapes in Santa Clara County in 2009. Police questioned Mueller at the time, but said they didn't have enough evidence to charge him. Despite similarities to Denise's case 7 years later, they never reopened those cold cases or retested Mueller's DNA.
It's fair to say that there are things that we would do differently and do better today. That's because of the Quinns.
Yes.
This year, Santa Clara County DA Jeff Rosen finally tested Mueller's DNA. When Mueller was finally sentenced to 2 life terms for those 16-year-old crimes,
It came the week of the 10-year anniversary of our kidnapping. So it was very wow, just looking back and all that we had gone through and everything that it took to get to this place.
And that was just the beginning. Next, Mueller confessed to an unreported 2015 home invasion robbery in Contra Costa County, just 2 weeks after he released Denise and months before he was arrested.
Tied them up, went to the son's room, woke him up.
In recorded confessions, Mueller describes how he convinced the family to keep the crime a secret, threatening his accomplices would find and harm their kids.
There's very good reason if they didn't report it.
Contra Costa DA Dinah Becton stresses this one wasn't a cold case.
We had no knowledge that they had suffered this horrible crime.
They found the victims still living in fear from a crime that wouldn't have even been investigated without Denise and Aaron and the officers who finally believed them. Mueller got another life sentence, but his confessions didn't end there.
One of the most striking things is finding out how young he was when he started.
Mueller describes in chilling detail how he ambushed a couple camping in Sacramento County back in 1993 when he was still a teen.
I ordered them out of the tent. I told them I had a gun. I believe I tied them both.
Through Denise's and Aaron's persistence, we were able to bring justice to other victims.
Last month, Sacramento County DA Tin Ho secured a 4th life sentence for Mueller. The culmination of 6 crimes, more than a dozen victims, 32 years of unanswered questions and justice delayed. But thanks to Denise and Aaron, they were not forgotten. Denise and Aaron are now working with law enforcement to sponsor legislation that they hope will address some of the failings highlighted by their case. For instance, Denise's rape kit wasn't even tested until this year. They'd also like to see every officer get better training on how to work with victims and suspects to help solve crimes.
Julie Watts joins me now for more on this amazing story that she has covered and developed so thoroughly. So tell me more about Denise and Aaron. Is their work done, or do they consider themselves going to be in this space for a very long time?
No, they're going to continue. They're working right now with law enforcement to try to figure out how to create a standardized trauma-informed training for officers. Think about this, Major. Officers across the country get dozens of hours of firearm training. They may never fire a gun in the line of duty. They deal with victims. They interact with victims probably every day, if not every week, and they don't have any standardized training on how to do that. In Denise's case, they said she didn't act the way a victim should. They judged her credibility based on a lack of understanding of basic neuroscience, and so they really believe that with better training, that these officers could actually solve more crimes and, frankly, with victims' help.
Julie, there are so many compelling parts of this story. For me, I'm wondering what was most compelling, revealing, or impactful for you?
You know, what's interesting is their story was sensational, but it's not unique. And I've really learned that. I was struck by how victims of violent crime can be re-victimized by a systemic lack of control. They have no control over the investigation, over how they're treated, or whether they're believed, or whether the evidence is even tested. In her case, they just now tested her rape kit. They have no control over even facing their attacker. Denise and Aaron wanted to face Mueller in prison, and they were denied full stop by the warden, no explanation. And Denise says that really took away her agency, her ability to make that choice. But most impactful to me was how the media coverage impacted them. And you know, Major, really made me think about trauma-informed journalism training and what we can all learn from their story.
Julie Watts, incredible work. Thanks so very much for joining us. I appreciate it.